Hello, so today I will be doing session 2 of the time value money assignment. And so basically, just a quick overview of it. Our mission is just being a financial advisor and helping a client plan for their retirement. And so they are 22, make 65K a year. He wants to retire at 65. 30% interest on income, inflation rate 2% per year, interest rate 5% per year, salary increase 3%. And then we are giving him the suggestions of 60% and 40% in bonds, and then expect 8% return on that, and then 4% on bonds. So first, following the driver framework, we start with our define and discover. And so what's the financial decision? What information do we gather? So basically, I went in here and I simplified what we know. So everything I just told you, I put it in a more formatted way. That way, when I'm needing the AI's help, they can read it easier. And then financial decisions, basically from this whole section in there, I just found out the 4 big questions, which is total amount at 65, present value, and then alternative plans, and then the $1,000 more at the end. So after we figured all that out, we go to represent. So the cash flow, year 0, he's obviously at $0. And then year 1 would be the 65K. He saves 19.5K because of his salary, invests 11.7K in stocks, and 7.8K in bonds. And then you get to year 2, that should be, you're at 66.95K, save it. And that process just goes on until year 43, which is when he is 65 and he wants to retire. So then after we did all that, we're in the implement. So we need to make our code and understand our code. So that is where we get to Google Gemini, and I asked it to use the driver framework to help me with the questions and actually help. If I give it the information, then it'll spit out what I need to know. So I gave them the information that I got and the financial decisions we need to come to. And I did the keep it simple format, and it gave me a step-by-step of what's going on. So it has all the information, the initial salary, the age, retirement age, and savings rate. That gives us the total years for growth, and then the salary growth of 3%. And then for the investment return, it did a weighted average, which is something that we did in basic statistics or business statistics. So the weighted average was 6.4%. That's what this number is right here. And then the discount rate is 5%. So then it went question by question giving me this. So I copy and pasted the code into our Colab. And it started out with this, and I did it one by one, and it started giving me one by one answers. But then to simplify it, I put it all in one big code, which I'll go through right here. So first, we have all the information that I just told you, and then the initial salary, total savings is 0, years to save. If you hover over, at least it was doing that at first right here. So if you hover over it, well, when I was hovering over it earlier, it was telling me what these numbers were, which you don't really need to know. They're already stated when they actually do the math for it, but it was just a convenient tool that I thought that they had. So we go up to the top, there's that. Then savings from this year, so it's saved this year is the current salary times the saving rate, which we know is 0.3, so 30% saving rate. and then the current salary is 65K, and then the 1+ investment return is just when you're investing how much you're getting back of that. So after doing the saving for 43 years, it just does that process over 43 years. It comes out to be 6,216,000 ish. And then for present value, it's the present value equals future value, and then the discount rate, which was 5% for the interest rate, and then times the years to save, which is 43, I believe, and you get the present value 762,000. And then when doing an alternative plan, I wondered if you up the stocks from 60 to 80 and the bonds down to 20, you get a new investment return, and you basically do the same idea where it's the same formula, it's just different percentages. Instead of 60, it's 80 now. And it actually found that the alternative plan gave you nearly 1.5 million more. So I definitely suggest increasing the stock to 80% because the potential growth could be there. And then for the final question, if you put $1,000 more into each one, it has the extra savings amount now, so that'll annually become $1,000 more plus whatever the return is on each of the things. And then for this one, it's 6,426,000, which is 200,000 more than the original plan. So if he has enough money to do that and still live comfortably, I recommend that he does that, because $200,000 is a good amount of money. So we looked through that, and then we need to validate what we just found. So I checked with chat, and I gave it the same prompt just to see how it would run. And you get down here, and it gives us, when I put it into the Python, that's where this comes in. It gives us nearly the same. It's a little bit different. I think that is because it uses, like, when I hover over stuff like this, it uses the end of the year, which is why I think the present value might be wrong. And then it gave me a different strategy for question 3. It wants you to put 100% of your stocks, like, into stocks instead of bonds. So that's why it gave us that high return of over like $5 million more, which I think is too risky and unrealistic. So I don't recommend that. And then with the extra, it overshoots it again because of that high thing. So then after checking with that, I checked the present value and did the future value, so our final number after 43 years, then the number of periods, and then the interest rate, which was 5%, which we already knew. And it gives you the present value of 762,000, which, if we go back to here, matches with our present value right here. So that is how we validated our argument. And then just something to think about with the evolve stage is, what if the stock market crashed or the inflation rates dropped or rise? So we can go into our collab, and let me find one with the total return. So let's say the return, the investment return, let's say we pump that down to, let's say, 0.1%. The stock market crashes. If we run that, now it is only 1,694,000, which is almost a $5 million decrease. So if the stock market crashes, then we can see that how this number changed the present value changed, the difference changed now because of that, and then it's only increasing 43,000. So, well, it's not good to do ChatGPT suggestion where you throw 100% into the stock market, because if it crashes, you still make money, but not nearly as much as you could in a safe way with other things. So then, reflecting on this, the biggest shock to me was how, if you invest early, like if I graduate, I can start investing, and you can become a multimillionaire by the time you're a grandparent, and that could change your future generations' lives with college tuition and stuff like that. And then also, I found it interesting that even if it's only $1,000 a year, this smallest change can gain you profit that is unimaginable, nearly like a $200,000 difference, which doesn't seem like that much when you compare it to 6 million, but if all goes wrong, you can still salvage the 200,000. So I actually had a much better time with this assignment than I did session 1, but at the end of the day, I think I was just new to it for session 1, but I'm very happy with how session 2 went. So that is it, and it was a good experience. Thank you.